evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Vergne Boardroom Zone of Appeals meeting, April the 27th, 5:30 p.m. I'll call the meeting to order. We have a full quorum. If you would, ladies and gentlemen, please review the minutes and make a motion to accept or deny or change the minutes as submitted for March the 30th.
Make a motion to accept the minutes.
Motion to accept. Do I have a second?
A second.
2 seconds. Thank you. Those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Minutes carry. Other business. The first item is to motion to nominate and elect a vice chairman for the remainder of the existing term. Vice chair is what we're looking for. Moving forward, I'd like to make a recommendation for Mr. Craig Pollock to be vice chair. Do I have a second?
I second.
You have a second. Those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Mr. Vice Chair. Moving on to number 2, old business. Request for special exception to allow a church properly located at 127 Suncrest Drive, tax map 14E, Group A, parcel 11, R1, low density residential, property owned by Joseph M. Goff. Mr. Logan, could you give me a report, please?
Thank you. This is a request to operate a church at 127 Suncrest Drive, and this applicant was here last month and was asked to return after a few items were taken care of. There on the map, on the screen rather, you can see the imagery, and that'll show you the general location of the lot that we're talking about. So it's right there in the middle of the screen. And the lot's approximately 1 acre in size. I think it's 1.01 acres. And this is a close-up view aerial of the lot with the existing house. And the applicant has stated that they wish to conduct church service here and church activities. I think last month it was discussed a little bit about what days of the week that would occur. They're also planning to do Bible study if they were to be approved at this location. So this is a zoning map, and you can see the orange color is low density residential, which is R1, and there again it's this outline, rectangular outline in blue is 127 Suncrest. So yeah, you can see quite a large swath of Laverne is zoned R1 in this area. Looks like everything just about in this image. So here's some photos of the existing home, and you can see appears to be a 1-story home, and this is a sign that was posted. See, by now it's been out about 6 or 7 weeks, probably 7. This photo shows the driveway that's existing. It's like an aggregate driveway. And another photo here of the yard. And then this photo shows some of the side yard along with the privacy fence that was recently built. And this is a plan that the applicant submitted. Before we get to that, you notice in the report, and this was discussed last month, but the applicant offered some information about parking and has stated that they've built an area or developed an area on the property for off-street parking. And so last month, the Board of Zoning Appeals got into some of those details about the size and surface of that parking, but that is something that will need to be squared up. Let's see. Not any new structures or additions to the home that have been approved. Of course, there was some permits that were run through the codes office, and I'll let Mr. Sire speak to that later, but more of interior improvements and changes, but no additions at this point to the home. So this is the plan that was submitted by the applicant. You can see there the driveway and the room layouts and floor plan, and that's also in your packets. The hard copies are in each of your packets tonight. And then, of course, they've located trees and whatnot in the backyard. And they're showing roughly 300 feet long for the lot by 150 feet wide. And then this was also submitted by the applicant. So this would be the subdivision plat from many years ago when this subdivision was approved. And you can see they've highlighted the parcel on the screen, the subject parcel for tonight. I believe that covers most of the report. As far as phone calls, there's been upwards of 30 calls since the sign was posted. So the signs generate a lot of phone calls. So that's also in the report. Be glad to answer any questions. Thank you.
Is an applicant here this evening for this? Please step forward, sir, and let's swear you in if you would, please. Raise your right hand. Promise to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Yes, I do.
Please state your name and address for the record, please.
I'm Nathan A. Wad, 127 Suncrest Drive, Vergne, Tennessee. And for the record, just make it clear that I am the owner of the house.
Okay.
And I don't know who this person is, for maybe it's outdated information.
Understood. So noted that property owner is not Ms. Joseph M. Golf. That's not you.
No.
Understood. Okay. Do you have any comments or questions about the report Mr. Logan presented?
Is it like I said last time, we meet, my friends, they come to my house. We pray for 1 hour on Sunday night, as I mentioned last month. And when you ask me how many cars that can be parked on a driveway, it can easily take up to 9 cars. But since I felt like one of my neighbors got mad, probably one of my kids parked on his front yard, then I put gravel and I let all my friends park behind the building. And I think that's all. If you have any question for me.
I do. So you had the fire chief codes group come out to inspect or look at the unit.
Right.
And we have 8 items on the listing here of items that they found. Have you seen this list, or are you aware of this list?
The fire and safety?
Yes.
They came and spoke with me, and they went inside and they saw the building and they measured it. And the fire marshal said this place cannot hold more than 30%. I told him it's okay. And he said also you need to put 3 exit signs and doors has to swing outside. And he emailed the report as well. And I asked him, and I emailed also the city if I need to make any changes before I come here today. He said, no, just wait. And that's waited for that.
So the way the process would go, if this gets approved this evening,
Right.
You'd have to address all 8 items, and the staff, the codes, and the fire marshal will have to acknowledge
Approve
everything's
it.
been done. Just be aware of that.
Sure.
That's part of the process.
I am aware of that.
Are you aware of that? Okay, good. Okay. Ms. Fire Curtis, do you have any comments or questions on this item?
No, sir. Like the applicant explained, we, at their request, went out and conducted a normal life safety inspection. The 30 that he's speaking of is the maximum occupancy rating, so no more than 30 people could assemble in that one particular area at any given time. Outside of that, like I said, he's been emailed all the violations that we found, and provided they're fixed, we would have no other issues on the fire marshal side.
Round of codes, any comments or questions, sir?
No, sir, I would just back up what Curtis was saying about the occupancy load and the items that he's mentioned in this report would all have to be addressed and approved and signed off by fire marshal. And perhaps even a certificate of completion issued to them then to do as they see fit.
Okay, thank you. Is anyone else here who wants to speak for or against this issue, please? If you would, if you want to step aside, you step at the podium, sir, and we'll swear you in if you don't mind. Raise your right hand. Do you promise to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
Please state your name and address for the record, please, sir.
Michael Harris, and I live at 158 Sweet Gum Drive. It's right around the corner, within sight distance. I've lived in that neighborhood most all my life, and I believe in it being a residential. area only, and a church of any kind needs to be in another area, not out that way, because I think it ought to be separated. And I just don't see it. I don't feel comfortable with that being there like that, and that's the way I feel. And I just wanted to state that.
Okay, appreciate it, sir. Thank you very much. Anyone else want to speak for or against this item, please? If you would, step to the podium. Raise your right hand, please, sir. Promise to tell the truth, the whole truth, none but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
Please state your name and address for the record, please.
Doug Schaefer, 192 Morningside Drive. I've lived in the subdivision for 43 years, long before it was part of the city, and it's always been a quiet neighborhood. And, well, we couldn't hear anything outside, so I don't know what's been said before, what they've come up with. And when you call the zoning department, they just tell you when the meeting is, and that's it. So it's hard to find out anything. But I would like to know how many are allowed there. We're all on a septic tank out there. They're at the bottom of a hill is where that backs up to. That doesn't, what's the word I'm looking, impotable. You can't have septic tanks on it, on that hill. And it's just, the parking has to be in the rear. I see they got boards up to keep it away, but I would really like to know how many people can be there, and especially with restroom facilities and this type of thing, if that's allowed on a septic tank. Because if they get up to 100 people that the rumor is, that's not right in a subdivision. Thank you.
To answer your question, sir, just so you know, from the fire marshal indicated the maximum amount is 30 people.
Who checks that? Honestly, do they check it?
No.
No.
I mean, obviously, they don't go there every Sunday and check
No.
county heads, no. But I mean,
But-
obviously, the applicant must have some residual of being understanding the procedures that the city has.
Well, I've been around long enough to know in both the city and I know the county that there's times they don't check to see that things that what comes out of this board are followed up on. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anybody else want to speak for or against this? Ladies first, we'll get you, sir. Please. If you would raise your right hand, please. You promise to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Yes, sir.
Please state your name and address for the record.
My name's Nina Brooks, and I live on Rainbow Place. I've been there since 1977, and never in my wildest dreams would I ever believe that I would be standing here talking to you people about a church going in. There's lots of buildings in Laverne that they could have a church, not in our little neighborhood. And I only have 2 questions, so. You're allowing them to have their church probably. How many months are you giving them till they have to have their own permanent building? Or is this gonna be a permanent building? And also, after they are in there for a while, how long's it gonna be before Laverne brings sewer in? A septic tank is not gonna hold very long unless they take that backyard where they're planning on parking and putting the sewer line in. And, but anyway, thank you.
Thank you very much. Let me just finish off with the rebuttal. Please, sir. Come step forward. Just raise your right hand. Do you promise to tell the truth, the whole truth, none but the truth, to help you God?
I do.
Please state your name and address for the record.
My name is Akram Shafiq, and I live in 5404 High Jump Drive, Smyrna. And I'm a friend to Brother Nathan, and every week we gather together and we read the Bible and we pray for 1 hour or less. And my point here is I don't see any problem if we gather together and meet together and read the Bible at the time and respect all the neighbors' rights, and we respect all the laws and all the safety procedures. And this is happening with me when I invite my friends in my home and we do different parties. And if we have a birthday party or Thanksgiving party, and nobody, if as much as we don't bother anybody of our neighbors or exceeds, or of anybody's freedom, so I don't know what is the problem or what is the objection if we gather together and meet together and read the Bible and study the Bible, and as we follow all the instructions and the safety procedures.
Okay, thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, so the applicant, you want to come back up and discuss some of the questions that's been asked? That'd be great, thank you.
Gentleman in the
Another person.
Oh, there is one more? Sorry, so let me do the one more. I didn't see your name. Please step forward, so I didn't see your arm there. If you would, please raise your right hand. You promise to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Please state your name and address for the record, please.
My name is Richard Harris. I live at 131 Suncrest Drive. We moved there, we built our home 27 years ago. Excuse me. We chose Laverne because of the rural, quiet area. We chose this subdivision because it's 1 acre lots or plus. There are no homes on less than 1 acre. And it is a full residential subdivision. And we are fighting to try and keep it that way. Most of Laverne has changed in that 27 years, but our subdivision has not. It has remained the same, and we would like to keep it that way. A spot zoning variance is something that I think should be considered when it's going to benefit everybody involved. It should benefit the subdivision, the city, and of course the person who put in the application for it. I'm really not seeing where the subdivision is going to gain a benefit, even the city, of a spot zoning variance for this piece of property. Last meeting, there was a lady that requested a 10-foot minimum setback variance for her house. She had had a structure that was grandfathered inside, inside that variance, and it had become damaged, had to be repaired, replaced, and she was asking to put one up back in the exact same location, same footprint, but she wanted it inside that variance. Now, logically, you think, okay, she's putting the same thing up in the same location, but it is inside that variance. It should be okay, no harm, no foul. But the board looked at it on the legal aspect of going forward. If you grant a variance on this, you're setting a precedence that you could have to deal with in the future when someone else comes in wanting to have something done like that. What we're asking is you use that same thought process in looking at our subdivision. Don't set a precedence right now by allowing a church or commercial property, which is what the zoning would do, in our subdivision. Please leave it for residents only and not have a future of where today a church may not be a huge issue, but down the road, there may be something else that has legal aspects to where they could build in there. The developer may get a hold of the right piece of property and he wants to put 10 townhomes on 1 acre. We're just trying to protect against that.
Thank you, sir. Applicants, please step forward.
Just as a point of clarification, that we're not going to constitute it as a church. It's going to be residential. It's not going to be commercial at all, and never requested to rezone it. It's not gonna be more than any birthday party in any house.
Okay. Any other comments?
No,
What's been
sir.
said? Please step forward. Please raise your right hand if you would. You promise to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Please state your name and address for the record.
My name's Carla Harris. I live at 131 Suncrest Drive, right next to the Awad's house. The problem is the zoning change. I don't care what they do in their house. They could have 20 people, they could have 50, and I don't care. But you start changing zoning and you're setting a precedent and you're gonna screw up the entire neighborhood. Leave things like they are. Everybody out there moved out there for a reason. The large lots and the quiet. Just leave it like it is.
Thank you. Anybody else want to speak for or against? Yes, sir. Please step forward. Raise your right hand if you would. You promise to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
Please state your name and address for the record, please, sir.
Mike Wall, 157 Rainbow Place, Laverne. I'm right across the street from Nathan. I spoke last time and talked about how excited I was that they had moved in and I'd got to know them. And as you can tell from the cap, I'm an Alabama fan. I'm also a UT fan, which is a little bit unusual, I understand, but I've been an Alabama fan since the 60s. And I learned that you don't have to like one or you don't have to hate one in order to like another one. So this afternoon, after dropping off a birthday present at my daughter's house in Murfreesboro, I was telling my soon-to-be 13-year-old granddaughter about why Papa had to leave early and why he wanted to make this meeting tonight. I explained that my newest neighbor was wanting to invite people to his home to read and study the Bible, and that there had been some objections for different reasons. She now attends a church that started in a home. If you look at the history of Laverne, and I've been here for many, many years, since the 70s, you'll know that many of our local congregations here in Laverne started in homes. I welcome Nathan and all the people that want to come and study the Bible across the street from me. Hope I get an opportunity to share in that. I think it's a wonderful thing. I hope a church springs from it someday. But I think this allowance is well within the context of what we ought to have in our neighborhoods. And if you disagree, I wish you could find words to explain to my soon-to-be 13-year-old daughter why that's unreasonable, because I couldn't.
Thank you, sir. Anybody else want to speak for or against? Yes, sir. Please step forward. Please raise your right hand. You promise to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
Please state your name and address for the record, please.
Can I translate for him, please?
Of course, sir. Yes.
Yeah. My name is Sameh Makar. I live in 259 Old Nashville Highway, Laverne, Tennessee. نسان يبقى ابن عمي.
Nathan is my cousin.
Okay.
يوم الحد لما بيبقاش عندي شغل.
On Sunday, if I don't have work,
بروح عنده البيت.
I used to go over there to his house.
بحس إن هو البيت بيتي يعني.
I feel it is my house when I go over there.
كل اللي بنعمله إن إحنا بندرس الكتاب المقدس.
All what we doing is Bible studying.
وبالنسبة لي إن أنا بكون بعيش في لافيرن دي فرصة كويسة إن ألاقي كنيسة بتتكلم عربي في لافيرن.
To me, as I live in Laverne, it is a great chance to be over there and have a good chance to study the Bible and pray.
Arabic church.
It is an Arabic church.
We can find Arabic church in Laverne, so if we have the chance to gather in his house to study Bible, is
to me, even it is a Bible study, but to me it is a church because I don't have a chance to go to any other churches speaks Arabic. So,
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anybody else want to speak for or against this? All right, one at a time. I'll take one on the left side that went up first. We'll get to everybody. We've got plenty of time this evening. Let's go through this and go through the process. Please raise your right hand, sir, if you would. You promise to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
Please state
My
your
name is Charles Hiles. I live at 211 Morningside. And I think there's a misunderstanding from what this gentleman was talking about earlier. I read the Bible at my house. I have people from my church come to my house, but I'm not asking to have a church there. That's a whole different situation. It's a different, if it was the same thing, we wouldn't be here looking for a zoning change. So, and I'm like the other people here. We're opening a door that we can't ever close. And 10 years from now, what we have there, I hope to still be alive and be living where I am on Morningside without any basic changes. But I know, and you get, the problem I see, the gentleman says his driveway will hold 8 or 9 cars. Well, he can put 50 in the backyard. And nobody can tell that. just like the fire marshal with 30 people. Where I go to church, it's a commercial building, 2-story, much bigger than his house. All we can put in there is 99. And we have to have disability ADA bathrooms, have the fire extinguishers, liability, and we have a 501(c)(3), which designates us as a church with the federal government for our tax exempt. And one thing that I want to know about this church, I don't know anything about it, where it's come from, if they have all the legal requirements, not just the zoning, but the legal requirements it takes to actually be a church. We just don't have enough information. These seem like nice people, but we don't have enough information.
Thanks, sir. Thank you, sir. Who else wants to step up here? Please, sir. Raise your right hand if you would, please. Promise to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth to help you God.
I do.
Please state your name and address for the record, please.
My name's Robert Newman. I live at 115 Rainbow Place. I've been up here since 1984, and I think what the issue is between most people that I'm listening to tonight, it's not that everybody's meeting, reading the Bible. That's great. Everybody needs to, I think. That's just my opinion. But the zoning, that's what everybody, just take my house, for example. Some developer could come in there, if we change the zoning, they can knock my house down. They could put 3 houses on my lot. I think that's what the issue is, so that's all I got to say.
Richard said, thank you. Anybody else? Yes, please, sir. Step to the podium.
You can help me?
So, you promise to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth to help you God?
Yes, I do.
Please state your name and address for the record, please.
My name is Mifra Abdullah. I live in 121 Moshi Allen Drive, Vergne, Tennessee. أنا ساكن جنب بيت الأخ إيسان هو صاحبي.
I live close to brother Nathan. He is my friend.
فعلا أنا لما بكون في وقت بروح بيبقى في دراسة الكتاب المقدس، بنقرا الكتاب وبندرس الكتاب المقدس، ده بيكون سبب بركة لينا وكل اللي بره.
When I have time, I go over there many times to have a Bible study with brother Nathan, and it is a great blessing to me and my family. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else want to speak for or against this item? Okay, we've got take the one in the back first. I'll get to you, sir. Thank you. Raise your right hand if you would, please, sir.
Yes, sir.
You promise to tell the truth, the whole truth, and none but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, sir.
Please state your name and address for the record.
Paul Gunn, 214 Vicky Court in Mount Juliet, so I'm not a local resident, but I'm the pastor of Tusculum Hills Baptist Church in Nashville, where this Bible study group got started. And I think what we have here, just as a point of clarification to be helpful to everybody as I've gotten to know the culture, is a difference in semantics and understanding of things. So Nathan has said he did not apply for a zoning change. And when the Arabic people get together to have Bible study and prayer, or even not that, if they live in a neighborhood, they're just very social people. They're going to have lots of people over at their homes quite often. It's just part of the culture. They have not constituted as a church. Nathan is the homeowner. It's not owned by a group. The home is not owned by a group. It's not owned by a church. So he's not even requested a zoning change. So I think that he's in agreement with the statements here about no zoning change. He just, however this happened, I don't know, but he just wants to have Bible study and prayer at his house. They have not constituted as a church. I'm sure they'll follow whatever rules that are required for, having up to 30 people in the home. But I think maybe there's just a cultural misunderstanding and while you have a couple of men here that stood and used the word church, in their world, if two people get together and have a prayer and read a Bible and have a Bible study, they can be a church. In our view, as Americans, and of course Nathan is an American citizen, maybe these guys are too, but as long-term Americans, we think of church as a as a building on a piece of land that has constituted as a church. They have not done that. They aspire to do that someday, but they're just getting started as a group of Christians who come together and pray and read the Bible. That's all I have to say. I hope it clarified any questions that someone might have.
Thank you, sir. Please step forward, sir. Raise your right hand if you would. Promise to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, to help you God.
I do.
Please state your name and address for the record, please, sir.
My name's Josiah Prescott. I live at 6240 Rocky Top Drive, Antioch. I first met Nathan through my wife, who is also Egyptian. And first 5 minutes of meeting him, I could tell he was a genuine, he was a man who had a genuine love for God, a genuine love for people. And I've been to his property several times, and as he says, there's adequate room for everything. And as far as I know, there's nothing major he plans to change on the property as far as zoning or making it commercial. And I feel in today's society and with what's going on in the country and things, people need hope, and especially, as it's been said, the Egyptian community, I know with my wife, they are a very, what was the word you said? They're very, they're a big, group. They're very,
take your time.
I think the word. They're very, people group. They get together and from what I've seen myself living in town and around Antioch and stuff, I've seen that there's a Coptic church in Antioch, and there's one other church that's not Coptic, and there's a large number of the Egyptian community that is not Coptic, and they need a place to go and worship. And I believe that he has the means to do so, and he has a love for the people, and he has a great respect for his neighbors, and they just want to go and worship God, and I'm all for that. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir. Please step forward. If you would raise your right hand and we'll swear you in, please, sir. Do you promise to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Please state your name and address for the record, please.
My name is William Burton. I live at 1063 Achievers Circle in Spring Hill, Tennessee. And I'm an outsider to your community, but I do know Nathan. I've known him for about 7 years. And I was out in the lobby listening and then talking to some of the folks that had given testimony for or against this that's before us right now. Well, as a matter of fact, one of the ladies I talked to said her church began in her pastor's home. And now they have their own building, and they've progressed in doing that. And my responsibilities is with the Tennessee Baptist Mission Board, and I am the new church's team leader as well as the ethnic church planting and evangelism specialist. So I work with 142 different people groups across our state. And doing so, you learn a lot about culture, and you learn a lot about community. And we're so blessed in our great nation that we have the freedom of worship and gathering together. And Nathan and the folks that he gathers with have been oppressed in their lifetime. They've been denied sometimes perhaps employment in the country that they lived in because of their religious background. We're a great nation, and I know this is not about whether they can gather together and study the Bible. And I don't really think that they're looking for a zoning change. It's just, can we continue to gather and study the Bible? I would just encourage you to consider that as you make that decision, that you've got a marginalized people group that have an opportunity to build community and then assimilate into our culture here. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Anybody else want to speak for or against? Anybody else? As chairman, I just want to qualify a couple of things just to the board as well as the citizens. They're not requesting a zoning change. They're in R1, low density residential, and they're applying for a special exception to that. And the number one item in that list is a church. So they are eligible to do this request in. There's no zoning changes. This is just a special exception to the request. Any board members, any questions or comments that we'd like to ask the applicants, please,
I do have a comment.
go ahead.
I would like to say what my understanding, and this is from last month as well, I don't think they are looking to make a church. From what I was understanding, my understanding is that they just started having Bible study. And I think somebody said there's a whole bunch of cars there, and I might be wrong, but I think they're starting a church. I know my pastor asks us all the time to have meetings in our home. And we have people over. We haven't lately, but when we do, you know, we're not starting a church. Everything that I'm hearing is about Bible study. And like the chairman said, they're not looking to change the zoning or anything like that. So that's my take from what I have heard. And I understand everyone likes to keep everything the same, but when people ask to worship in their home, I'm hard pressed to disagree with that. I don't feel that's my place, so that's my comment on it.
Thank you. Anybody else have any comments? No, any comments? Yeah, it's okay. Just a couple of things from my standpoint. Been on this board for several years. Historically, and I'd like to be consistent on these boards, is this is towards the applicant. The gravel in front of the entrance to the back garden, historically would ask any church that's coming through for special exceptions and or when they build churches, is that to be a continuation of your driveway, so that they're not driving on the gravel in the back garden. What you do in your back garden, that's fine when you close the doors, but I think we need to have that gravel to be is a driveway concrete at the present time, sir? What type of material is the driveway? Concrete. So my thought would be, if this board wants to move forward, is to have that gravel and go down with concrete, just so it's consistent with the neighbourhood. Number two is, obviously, it's been maxed out at 30 people per the fire marshal, and that the applicant clearly understands that there's no parking on the street. All the cars need to be on his property. For me, that's the common sense steps as far as working some middle ground. Any other comments or suggestions on those items? Go ahead.
Just one more comment. The applicant will adhere to what the fire marshal has suggested, is what I'm hearing. You've agreed to make those changes to make everyone safe. And you can help me out, Chairman, Vice Chair. As far as like the gravel, then I know there's an issue with that dust coming out to the street. That would have to be taken care of. And that's all the comment I have on those issues.
So what basically, so what you're indicating then is if this board was to pass a special exception, you would, per the requirements of, have to be in compliance of the 8 items of the fire marshal as listed, and the gravel driveway from the driveway to the fence would be concrete. Does that make sense?
Yes. Yes.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
I'm struggling with this change of this exception in this neighborhood. I'm really struggling that this is the right thing for this established neighborhood on these acre lots, and I think we're really doing an injustice to the neighborhood.
Understand. Again, if you're against what the church is or what the application is for, in your motion you must state a physical reason of why you want to turn it down, because otherwise that could get into an issue with a legal side. So anything for turning anything down, you must state your reason why you want to turn it down. Any other?
Graham, I've got a question. So if this were not passed and there was no special exception made, they could still assemble and do Bible study. And if they were to do Bible study, if the special exception wasn't granted, are they required then to still concrete the additional driveway space. Well, I think that would be a good neighbor to do that for the purposes of the dust and helping and keeping the aesthetics of the development looking nice and up to the same standard. If it wasn't granted, then they're just private citizens getting together.
That'd be correct. Mr. Cope, looks like you're reaching forward for a comment. Do you agree with that?
Yes, sir, that's correct.
Okay. Any comments? This is always a tough one, ladies and gentlemen. It always is. Through the years I've been doing this, it always is a tough decision on churches. But we are here to make a decision. That's why it's a democracy, and that's why there's an odd number. And I'm just here to move things forward. So with that, we've heard all the comments. I'll take a motion for or against the application.
I make a motion to approve the application as it stands with the improvements that the fire marshal suggested, and also with the improvement of the concrete to prevent the dust from going into the neighborhood.
Okay. Do I have a second? We need a second to move forward, otherwise the motion fails. So with no second, I'll open the floor up again for a motion against.
I want to make a motion against the property as proposed. I think there's been some inconsistency as far as the number of attendees, how many cars the driveway could hold. Initially, that front structure was, if I remember right from the last meeting, was set for one thing they applied for, and actually something else happened. And I think they could continue as citizens to meet in their home. They want to continue to do their Bible studies.
Thank you, sir. Do I have a second?
A second.
You have a second. With this being a tight, I'm going to do a roll call, just so everyone knows. So again, the motion is to deny the applicant as submitted. With that, sir, yeah, aye or no?
Aye.
Aye.
Oppose.
Aye.
No.
So I'm going to say no too, so it'll be 4-1 against. So therefore the motion fails. Okay, moving on. New business. A request for special exception to allow a church property located at 8047 Burntwood Drive, low-density residential district, property owned by New Directional Church International. Mr. Logan, please do your report, please, sir.
So this is the second request tonight for a church on the agenda. This location is at the corner of Burntwood Drive, and just give everybody a moment to get out of the room. The corner of Burntwood Drive and Blair Road in Laverne. This property is zoned R1. You can see on the imagery there, it's this corner lot here at this is Blair Road with the curve, and then this is Burntwood. Excuse me, that's Vineyard, correct? I have my bearings off. Anyway, it's the corner lot at Blair, and this is about a 4-acre lot, give or take, there at the corner. By the way, this street back here is Blair Oaks Court, and those homes are on Blair Oaks. So this part here, this is a closer view of the property in question tonight. Currently, it's vacant. There's no structures on the property. There is a wooded area along the eastern side of the property, and I've got some photos of that we'll look at in just a minute. So here you can see the zoning. Again, the orange is R1, which is low-density residential. And across the street, across Blair Road, is R3, which is this green, sort of military green color. And R3 is high-density residential. But everything on the south side of Blair is R1, which is the low density. Moving on here to the photos. So there is a wooded area to the left that I talked about earlier. You can see the homes in the existing subdivision. And then this is moving up to the corner, not the corner of Blair, but the corner along Vineyards. And then this is the corner at Blair and Vineyards. Again, you can see it's just a vacant lot, no structures. There is a sign, or at least when the photo was taken a couple weeks ago, there was a sign that says New Direction Church. And the plan, you have the full-size plan in your packet that's folded, but so this image here shows, and I think I zoomed in, yeah. So there's a rough outline of a proposed church, and then this large area to the east kind of wraps around the church, is slated to be parking area. And then you can see existing trees are shown along the perimeter, and this is the same area that I had in the photo. So I can assume they're probably going to keep or plan to keep as many of these existing trees if they were to be approved. They plan to keep those trees intact. Again, here they have ingress egress off of Vineyard and no ingress egress off of Blair. Now this is fairly conceptual. This is not a site plan. And this is a good time to mention that they would have to return, were they to be approved here, if they wanted to build any of this, they would have to submit separate site plan, hire an engineer, and go through all the processes for the Laverne Planning Commission. But this is just step one of a longer process. But at any rate, they show the trees, they show the ingress egress on Vineyard. They don't show any ingress egress on Blair. And you'll notice on the, if you look at the large plan in your packets, this says, and I don't know, you might ask the applicant, but it says seating for 350 persons in the proposed building. So I don't know how concrete the 350 is, but that's what's been submitted. So I think I pretty well covered everything on this application. I guess I can say that sometime in the past, this corner appears to have been approved by some BOZA for a church. I don't know when that was, but that's what I've been told. And I'll be happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Mr. Logan, any entrance on Burntwood Drive?
Not that I'm aware of. The plan that they submitted is what I'm going off of. I don't see any plans to build anything directly connected to Burntwood or Blair.
So again, just for the board, they're requesting a special exception to allow the church. This would have to come back to the planning commission and go through the same process to ensure it meets all the requirements. So all we're asking this evening is to either approve or deny the special exception to move to the next step. Obviously, any road entrances and any buffers and any other additional areas will be moved to the planning commission for their review and critiquing. So with that, do we have an applicant here this evening that's for this? If you would step forward, please, sir, and raise your right hand. I'm going to swear you in. Do you promise to tell the truth, the whole truth, none but the truth, to help you God?
Yes, I do.
Please state your name and address for the record, please.
Jarrell Beard, 159 Dobson Knob Trail, Nolensville, Tennessee.
Thanks, sir. Yep. Do you have any comments on what Mr. Logan's report was? Any comments or questions or concerns?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that?
Do you have any questions or concerns on what Mr. Logan said? I mean, do you agree with what he said?
Yes, I do. The projections, however, for the membership is about between 290 and 350 in terms of building out for that size.
Okay. Okay. And the question brought up by the Vice Chair, you were just showing the one entrance way. Is that still your intent, the driveway of having the one onto Vineyard Lane only? Is that your plan?
Well, we want to do what is most feasible for the community. We believe there was an issue with the previous church about having a driveway on Burntwood Drive, so we did not want to put one there if it was causing a problem. So we decided to go onto Vineyard instead of Burntwood. The last church that was there that was going to build, we understand that the community didn't want a driveway on Burntwood, so we decided not to put one there as we were looking to move forward, in which we bought the property from them.
I understand. Well, just give some history because I was involved with that. Just looking at your design, there are some issues on the planning commission. Would see the buffers I think are not required. They're not as required. So this is a process to go through. Just so you understand, this is the first step of your process. You understand? Okay. Any questions from the board members? No questions? Let me continue on a few of my questions then. Just planning ahead, and just so to get the citizens' involvement as well, what type of material do you try to make the proposed church out of? It's not required this step, but I'm just asking what's it going to look like, brick, what material would you plan to use?
Well, we're hiring an engineer and architects for that. I'm not qualified to give the appropriate answer that would meet city guidelines and zoning guidelines, but I would love to have brick there, something really beautiful, wonderful aesthetics and landscaping, something that will complement the community, that when they look out the window in their community, they see a beautiful atmosphere, as well as a community organization that's going to not only educate, but to empower and to help out in any areas where that community needs it.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Anyone want to speak for or against this? Yes, we have one lady here. If you would step up, please. Step to one side, sir. Appreciate it.
The one thing here is what's on their website.
Okay. All righty.
And as you can
Thank you.
see,
That's
it's
it.
rather large.
If you would just raise your right hand, if you would. Do you promise to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Please take your name and address for the record.
Name is Lori Stanfill at 8054 Vineyard Lane, Laverne. My house was one of those that was pictured. This is what I guess I'll be looking out of my bedroom and my living room window at every night and every morning. I didn't sign into this when I bought my house. They're talking about 300 people, so you're talking about approximately 150 cars coming and going off of the subdivision. You're not talking about on Blair, you're talking about Vineyard Lane, the subdivision. I won't be able to get out of my house on Sundays, Sunday nights. Then you've got Revival, you've got the Vacation Bible Schools, all of that. What does that do to our traffic? And can they, I don't even know if legally they can have one entrance and exit for that many cars. Then you've got, which you know my husband was up here when he was alive, and he always made a to-do about that whole property is now going to be parking lot and everything else. You've got runoff water from that whole thing. We have issues currently with the water going between the houses from up that way. What's going to happen? I mean, you're going to have flooding between those houses. So that's going to have to be that's going to have to be handled. I don't want to have, I don't know what this is going to do to my property value, honestly. I don't know if I'm going to have to move. Currently, they had, about 2 years ago, they had a little tent set up out there with music and everything else, kind of when they first bought it. I'm in my bedroom and I could hear it. That's how close. You're not talking about a street. You're talking about a subdivision road. It's just too much noise, too busy, too much traffic. It's just not a good thing. You just don't put something that big and like that in a subdivision, and that's what it is. Their address is even Burntwood, according to everything. That is in the subdivision. It's just not right. Why should we have to put up with that? Why should we have to put up with that many cars? I can't imagine 150 cars trying to get in and out a vineyard onto Blair every time they have church service. So anyway, you know where I stand.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Anybody else want to speak for or against? Sir, do you want to step back up and
I really wish we did have 299 or 300 members, but we don't. We're about a 35 roster, each Sunday, 35 people on the roster, but about a 50-member church. On average, in this region of the state, churches grow about 10 to 15% a year. And so it would take us probably 15 years to get to that number of members. So you won't see an immediate 150 cars on our parking lot. We do apologize that the music many years ago was a distraction, but however, it was probably about 6 years ago, because we've had the property for 8. And what we did, we wanted to get to know the community. So we went out and we passed out flyers and said, we want to do a community cookout to get to know you. We're going to provide food, jumpers for the kids. We'll have some small non-perishable food items for anybody who is in need of food. So we were only there about 2 hours, but we didn't want to come into this community and not try to connect, not try to get to know people, not try to hear what they thought, because we wanted to ask some questions. What do you think about a church coming into this community, and what type of church would you like to see? And so that music was on a speaker outside in an open environment for a 2-hour gathering, which we passed out flyers for 3 weeks leading up to it to let them know we were going to be there. But on average, you can't hear church music outside the walls when you soundproof it properly by appropriate companies and your engineers and architects taking care of that. So I just wanted to bring you some comfort that you wouldn't hear that music and why you heard it when you did, and that we don't have 300 members.
It's just, I'm trying to say, it's not even the parking lot. You've got the noise from cars and people, and you're not talking a big space between the two, between our houses and that parking lot.
And I hear you, and I do appreciate the comment, and we'll do everything we can to accommodate every concern that you have. If you look at our design, I mean, we're only using a small amount of that space in comparison. I think it's 169,000 square feet. We're only doing 62,000 for the site development, so the rest of it is parking lot, it's landscaping, it's trees, it's flowers. So when you look out of your window, the building will not be the first thing that you see, although it'll be in your sight range. You'll see the landscaping and the design. Also, on the website, when you put stuff on websites, you know, you're trying to go for the visual impact. So what you see is a magnified depiction of that building. The building won't be that big. It's only going to be 9,500 square feet. So it's actually, in comparison to a lot of church buildings, it's on the smaller side than on the larger side. That's what.
Moving on, any board members have any comments or questions while he's up here? Any other questions? Somebody else wanted to speak.
Mr. Chair, my general feeling about this, we don't know enough about it, of this church at this point. I am concerned about the traffic that's coming in to this neighborhood, and we have an ongoing issue with Blair Road that has not been addressed yet. So adding more cars onto Blair Road and to all these curves we've been talking about right now is a concern to me. About this property.
So if I can address that. So we have been in Rutherford County for 10 years. We have a partner organization, New Direction CDC, which we fight hunger, illiteracy, child abuse, and basic human suffering. So for 8 years now, we have fed at least 5,000 to 8,000 people a year meals. We provide tutoring for disadvantaged children. Every school year for back-to-school events, we give backpacks and stuff for over 1,500 families. Every Christmas, we bring in semi-truckloads, off-site, different locations, or park, and give food to all those people in the community. And so we provide education and a lot of the heartfelt human services that folks need. Now, there was a church there before, we bought the property from a church. The reason we bought it is because there was a big sign up that said, for multi-residential use or for a church. I didn't even know we had to come back and meet again because they told us it was zoned properly. And so they had it for years. We just bought it from them. We've had it 8 years. We finally paid the land off. And so the same opportunities that was given to that group to assure the community they would do well by them is the same opportunity we're looking for. I just wanted to respond to that.
Thank you.
Any comments or questions?
I have a question for Bo. Many years ago, when the other church, when they brought it forward, do you recall what was the issue with the Blair Road, or?
It wasn't during my tenure. I was here, I came here mid-17, 2017. It was way before that.
Okay.
So I don't have any direct knowledge of it.
Okay.
To answer your question, my recollection was there was some drainage issues that had to be sorted out, as well as the entrance potentially onto Blair Road, which was an issue, and also the buffering was another issue that was run into. We've seen this before several times. Again, this is not our concern that the church has done what they've done with the property. We're just looking tonight at the request for the special exception to allow a church. If the board feels okay, then it's okay. If the board doesn't want to go that way, come up with a reasons of why, and we can move forward, and then they can try and sort it out from there. If they do move forward, it has to come back for the planning commission, and there's items on here that I can see from my experience would need to be addressed, and some big issues need to be addressed. Primarily that if any water retention has to remain on the property. It can't run off onto any of the property, it's got to be maintained on the property itself. So again, it's not a difficult one, but we're here, this board, to get through this. So I'll accept a motion to approve or deny the special exception to allow the church at 8047 Burntwood Drive.
I'd make a motion to deny. We don't think we have enough information. We don't know about the water retention. We don't know about the traffic. We don't even know about the size of the building, what's going on this property. So I make a motion to deny as submitted.
Okay. A motion to deny. Do I have a second? So with no second, that fails. So I'll accept a motion to accept, special exception as submitted. Do I have a motion for that?
I make a motion to accept the special exception as it is presented.
Okay, do I have a second?
A second.
So we have a second. So again, with there being a tight vote, I'm going to do a roll call. So the motion is to accept. So if you're for it, it's aye. If you're against, it's nay. So starting on, are you for or against, sir?
Since it's already been approved before, I move to accept.
Move to accept.
Mm-hmm. No.
No?
Aye.
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 Aye. So that's 3-1, Bruce, correct?
Yes, sir.
Great. So therefore, the motion is approved. Special exception for the property owner located at 8047 Burnwood Drive. Okay, moving on. Let's see here. We're at item number 4. Request for a variance to side and rear setbacks. Property located at 1565 Laurel Ledge Drive, tax map 29F, Group C, parcel 21, R2 medium density residential zone district. Property owned by Michael Schroeder. Mr. Logan.
This is a request for a variance to the rear setbacks in the rear yard at 1565 Laurel Ledge Drive. The property is zoned R2, and you can see on the submitted plan here on the screen. So we're looking here at lot 349. So you remember the variance guidelines are that there be something exceptional about the lot itself, and this is not, should not be related under the Tennessee statute to anything monetary in nature, and it can't be related to financial loss. It's just something inherently unusual or not common to other lots in the subdivision. So my first glance at this when the application came in was certainly to look at the lot lines of the lot itself and the adjoining neighbors, and you can see easily which one is not like the others, and it's pretty easy to see. So the rear yard is extremely unusual. It's pointed, probably platted in the 80s, I'm guessing anywhere from 30 to 40 years ago, but at any rate, there's not much of a backyard, and so the requirement in the city's zoning ordinance is that every structure be 10 feet, minimum of 10 feet from all property lines. Of course, accessory structure has to go in the rear yard. It can't go in the front or sides. So let's go back and look here at the photos. This is 1565 Laurel Ledge, and you can see the White House there, driveway. Several of these, tried to zoom in. This is the other side of the house. So this would probably be the east side of the house. You can see some of the backyard there. Looks like a privacy fence in the distance. And then there's what looks to be a trailer here in the yard. So the dimensions that were submitted by the applicant, and the hard copies of these are in your packets, but it appears that they would build a structure, I see 28 feet wide, and I'm not sure about the length according to their diagram, but they can be asked that at the podium. But what would definitely need to occur, and of course Mr. Sawyer's office would be looking at this too, is that there's requirements for how big an accessory structure can be, and that's all in relation to the principal structure, which is the home. So whatever the square footage is of the home, any accessory structure has to be subordinate to that number of square feet. And I can't tell from this diagram if it is, but that would not prevent them from applying to the BOZA this month, because they're still likely to impede the 10-foot setback rule. So regardless of the square footage of what they build, so they're going to need a variance if they build a structure. And the sign has been there over 3 weeks now, and staff has received about 5 phone calls for inquiring about the sign and things of that nature. But I think that covers everything. I can go through, if you need me to, I can go through some more about the state statute, but I think we cover this about every month, so I think you all are familiar with what actually qualifies for variance and what does not. So thank you.
Do you have an applicant here this evening for this one? Please step to the podium, if you would, please, sir, and raise your right hand. You promise to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, sir.
Please state your name and address for the record.
Michael Schroeder. I'm at 1565 Laurel Ledge Drive.
Okay. Do you have any comments or questions from the report, Mr.
Yes,
Logan?
sir. I think he explained everything. I'm just trying to build a garage.
Okay. Any comments or questions from the board? I'll lead off then, sir. What are you going? Are you just going to park vehicles in there? What's
Yes, sir. Most of these vehicles that you're seeing,
Yep.
the one that's in the yard, that's an 1100 horsepower car. It's a race car. The truck is mine. The van is a buddy of mine's. The car in the garage is mine. So I have a lot of vehicles, and I'm trying to get them out of sight.
Okay.
Trying to get them out of the weather. The Corvette, I have $100,000 in that car. I have $100,000 in the Mustang that's in front of my Avalanche. I don't think he has a picture of it. But the other cars, there's Mark's truck there. I brought him to the airport. My mother's car and my sister's car is there. And then there's 3 other cars back on the side that are mine. So I'm trying to get everything out and then put a fence up and get it out of the weather.
Okay.
I just don't have the room to get it out.
So on looking at your diagram here,
Mhm.
this orientation, I see the driveway on the right side. Are you going to get vehicles on the right side of that, or is it just going to
No,
be
it's
shop space?
where these vehicles are right here, that's where the driveway will end up.
Yep.
It'll come over to the existing driveway. I think they told me that I couldn't go a certain amount from the road with another driveway. So I would angle it off to the driveway to get back to the garage in the back.
Okay. So my comment is, and this is for the board, is that historically when there's a building not there and going up, obviously it's the right time to come in for the variance. If the building's already there, it's a little bit tough to deal with it. But my comment would be is, I understand the reason for the vehicles, but to have what's going to be the length of the building, matter of interest? 'Cause you got the
It is, it's 36 foot by 28 foot. And then there's another little storage area on the side of it that's 8 foot.
Okay. So would it be an issue for you if you cut the side of or the end of the building off in line with the driveway? So you have a distance to get around the back of the building if something happens?
What are you meaning?
Referring to this drawing here.
Okay.
So at the moment you have the driveway, and you can step forward if you want to look at it.
Yes.
If you took the building and just did this versus having this piece, is that derogatory to what you're trying to do? In other words,
Well, this is part of the 36 foot is here up as well. It's because of the angle that it's looking that it's hanging over so much. It's 5 foot off of the property line. So what I'm asking to do is actually move my setbacks from 10 foot to 5 foot, and then I could set my building in here, is what I'm asking.
okay. So with this, in this position, you can get round the back of the building?
No, sir. No, sir. I don't want access to the back of the building with anything. The only thing I need to do is I can get to the back of the building with a lawnmower to cut my grass. I mean, it's 5 foot off of the property line.
Okay, appreciate that. Is Curtis still here, or is he gone? I'm just going to ask the fire marshal the question about this, just because we want to get as much information as we can to make
Yes,
the best
sir.
decision for you.
And the little side building will also have a bathroom in it, and I'm going to try to put drains and whatnot in it.
Curtis, can you just step forward? We have just a request here you've not seen, but I'd just like to show you this and just get your opinion if I could, please, sir. Just wanted to add this building, and there'll be no entranceway to get to the back of this. What's your thoughts and comments on that?
Okay, so what's the use of the building?
It's going to be for vehicle storage.
Yes, sir.
Vehicle storage?
I also have a storage facility that I'm trying to eliminate also. I'm spending $200 a month on.
So for us, Chair, we would enforce commercial buildings.
Okay.
So if this is going to be used for commercial use, then it would have to have an accessibility from 150 foot for fire department access. So within 150 foot, we'd have to have accessibility with our fire trucks to that location. If it's not a commercial building, then it would fall under the codes department, which would be Mr. Sawyer's. Take in mind, I mean, if there's no access to this area, when it comes to fire suppression, it's going to be extremely difficult for us to get back there.
Okay.
But as far as the code standards,
Any garage accessory structure cannot be used as commercial in that residential zone.
No, I'm not trying to use it as commercial.
And albeit the variance is requested, I mean, the size of the building, we've measured at 1,008 square feet.
Yes, sir.
Our ordinance allows for 50% of the square footage of the primary structure, which is the home he lives in. That would be the maximum allowed for the accessory structure, only 50%. So if
My
you got
home is 2,231 square foot.
That two-story?
Yes, sir.
There's some debate on whether or not the square footage or the building footprint. So we can cross those bridges, I guess, when we get there. But typically, I look at the building footprint because you can have a building footprint of less than that 2,000 that he's suggesting. Because Because I mean, we try to limit the size of a garage accessory structure to that of the building footprint itself. So, I mean, it could be a 3-story, 3,000 square foot house. And then you're looking at a 1,500 square foot garage. So at some point, you know, we have to say, okay, what's the limits here?
Sure, understand. So I'm just trying to make it straightforward here for the board. Do you have an issue just lining up with the driveway? In other words, having the building here and losing this, just so you can get around the back of it, but it comes straight off here?
Yeah, if I need to shrink it down to where we can get to the back of it, that's fine. I can shrink it down another, 2 or 3 foot, 5 foot, or whatever I need to do to try to get to the back of the building.
Okay, just want to see the board there. If you look at the driveway black line, my thought is to continue the building along with the line, so he would come back off the property line, that dimension. So if you look at the drive where it says driveway and the black thick line that goes up and dog's leg around to the entrance to the structure, continue the building along that line versus the way it's presented. Any thoughts or comments on that? Just a common sense one I'm trying to work with to get around the back of the property to make sense. I understand and concur with staff as far as the positioning of the lot itself. It is,
Yes, sir.
obviously it is. So if you're acceptable to that, I'm going to make a motion to accept the request for the side and rear setbacks, with the exception of taking the building in line with the driveway as presented. Mr. Sawyers, do you understand that? You concur with that?
Yes.
Okay. You okay with that, sir?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, don't we have to put a footage in there? We don't know how he's going to bring the driveway back.
Well, I mean, we're going to go off this drawing.
Okay.
So the staff can work off this and say, this is what was presented, this is what was approved.
Yes, sir.
The applicant knows that, and that way the staff has something to work off.
And it would be okay, if I shrink the building down, there's not a problem with that, correct?
Correct.
I mean, I'm not gonna make it any larger, but if I shrink it down, there shouldn't be an issue with shrinking the building.
But I want to just you understand, as far as this orientation is that on the building that's facing, let's say on this orientation is going to be heading to the west. You're going to shrink the building down in line with the driveway.
Yes, sir.
You understand that?
Yes, sir.
So with that, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to make a motion to accept the variance side and rear setbacks on the provision as stated as far as the drawing goes. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second. All in favour say aye.
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 Aye. Motion carries.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks.
Can I go speak?
You can go speak to Ms. Logan, yes. We're going to move on. So we're moving on, let's see. Number 5, request for sign variance, property located at 261 Mason Road, tax map 17, parcel 11.03, I2 Heavy Industrial Zoning District, property owned by Mason Road Holdings West LLC. Mr. Logan, can I have your report, please, sir?
Yeah, so this is a sign variance request for 261 Mason Road. And this site is located in an I-2 district, and you can see the zoning map there on the screen. So it's this rectangle that's outlined in blue, a very large area of I-2 in Laverne. And this request is by MHR, which stands for Materials Handling Resources. And we'll see some pictures in just a moment of their building. But they are addressed as 261 Mason Road. They sit in front of the IC building, if you're familiar with the IC facility. And the applicant has identified the need for more signage on their building. So this is a picture here of 261 Mason, and zooming in here so you can see they have an existing MHR sign, and they're asking for another one so that each corner of the elevations will have a sign. And they've indicated that they have deliveries as well as truck traffic, and there's been some confusion because there's no sign posted on that side of the building. You can see in the plans and also on this next slide, the sign they're asking for is a 33.93 square feet, so about 34 square feet. And again, the current sign code allows only one wall sign for industrial and commercial buildings, and so this variance would be to grant a second wall sign. There has been a sign there now over 3 weeks, and staff has not received any calls on this item. Thank you.
Do we have an applicant here this evening for this request, please? If you would step forward, sir, to the podium. Yes, sir. And raise your right hand. You promise to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, sir.
Please state your name and address for the record, please.
My name is Guy Dearman. I work with Boom Sign and Lighting. We're the sign installers who already installed the first wall sign. What they did, they went ahead and made 2 of them and sent them just thinking that they were just going to be able to put 2 wall signs up until we went through codes and told them that they were only allowed 1. Well, that's when they wanted to start the variance process. About the trucks where they come down, I'm not very sure what that side road is right there, because you kind of gotta come in like this and then go into there where the trucks come around. And they were just asking if they could get another sign.
The sign is the same size, duplicate? as the other
Same
one?
size, yes, sir. It's a non-illuminated sign, so it doesn't light up at all.
Okay. Okay, and the height and dimension will fit in, is that the same spot on the opposite side?
Yes, sir.
Correct. Any comments and questions for the board? This is an industrial area, so understanding the reason for what they're trying to do is obviously deliveries makes a big difference. So just a comment from myself. So with that, I'll make a motion to accept or deny the sign variance application.
Make a motion to accept the secondary sign that's submitted.
And I'll make a second to that. We'll have a roll call vote. All those in favour say aye. Please say aye.
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 Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thanks. Okay, moving on. Number 6, request for sign variance, property located at 113 and 123 Charter Place, tax map 29, parcels 2.02 and 2.08, C2 Highway Services Zone District, property owned by D3 LLC. Mr. Logan, please.
This is another variance request for a sign package. The address is 113 and 123 Charter Place. So this is the Thornton's and Popeye's location that was recently approved by the Planning Commission. And there is quite a large sign package that they've submitted, and we'll get to that in a second. These are photos from the site. You can see this is where Centerpoint and Charter almost meet, and when this Thornton's is complete, there'll be a realignment of Centerpoint and Charter there at the traffic signal. You can see today the stop sign is still there in this photo, right where I'm pointing with the red. This side is the former location of the Driftwood Inn with the blue roofs, and they've been slowly dismantling that location and buildings over the past several months, probably a year. So I'm going to move on to their sign submittals. They submitted what they call a sign site plan, which you've got the full packet. I think there's 20 sheets in your, or 19 sheets in your handout. So in blue here, in these blue boxes are the revisions. So this package has been approved already, parts of it. So what they've done now is they've come back. The first time they got sign approval, the Popeyes was not solid. Then Popeyes landed, and then they've come back. And a lot of this tonight is the Popeyes signage. So just to clear that up. So we'll start with their interstate on sign. You can see where I'm pointing. The Popeyes signage will go on top of the Thornton sign, and that is for the Popeyes restaurant. And let's see, this is their ground sign, their monument sign. And one thing to note, and they would have to be granted a variance by this board, there's a 10-foot height on the monument signs, and they're showing 12'8" here on the left. So it's moving toward 13 feet tall, but they've added the Popeyes signage on top of this sign, just like they did on the interstate sign. I believe they're also adding, in the report, they're adding the unleaded 88 sign, which is revision number 9. So there's your unleaded 88 sign, which is also increasing the height. So there's a lot going on with this ground sign in this variance package. Okay, so this is the front elevation, and you can see they've added a Popeyes wall sign, and that's in your hard copies as well. And so that's referred to as C2 on that site plan they've submitted. So they're asking for another wall sign here for Popeyes, and the details of that are up at the top of this page. And next will be the drive-through area. I'm gonna go back to that sheet, but so in the drive-through area, they're asking for the Popeyes logo. It measures 3 feet by 3 feet, and you can see would be installed here above the drive-through window. And so that is another change in this package. Now I'm going to go back one page. So this is another wall sign in the rear of the building. This is the Thornton's rear sign. So in addition to the one sign that's allowed by the code, the one wall sign, they are requesting 3 additional wall signs. So the total would be 4 with this sign package. So there's several wall signs. They also, from what I can tell, this is resubmitted because they wanted a complete package. So these are their gas canopy signs, but again, I don't know that there's been any change since the BOSA approved these gas canopy signs. They just wanted the package to be complete tonight. So you've seen these canopy signs before, and there's the details for the gas canopy sign. Now we get to the diesel and heavy truck gas canopies, and you can see those signs are included as well. And they have truck entry and truck exit signs, and that's denoted by the F, and then you just take the F and go back to that first site plan that they submitted in your packet. And then the details for the diesel canopy signs. And moving on to their directional signage. So these are all the auto entry and exit signs. So they're giving you a side A and a side B. And then these are the truck entrance signs, side A and side B for the truck entrance. So these are denoted by G3 and G5, and refer back to the large sheet at the beginning of your packet. Then we have the details for the truck exit and entrance signage. Finally, we have the certified truck scales. So this is denoted as H on the large site plan. And here's all your dimensions for the certified truck scale signs. And want to go back to their interstate on sign. So they are asking, one thing that became apparent, they're asking for well, disregard that comment. That's going to be on racetrack later. Their total sign height's 115 feet, so 115 for the Thorntons does not need a variance. That's within the city code. So that's the total height of their interstate on sign. I didn't mention that earlier. There's been a sign posted for the BOSA meeting for more than 4 weeks, and staff has not received any calls about the signage for this site. I'll be happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Do we have an applicant here this evening? Please step to the podium and raise your right hand if you would, please, sir. Do you promise to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I so swear.
Thank you. Give you your name and address for the record, please, sir.
My name is Todd Smoots, and I'm the project manager from James Thornton Way, 2600 James Thornton Way in Louisville, Kentucky.
Thanks, sir. Do Do you agree and concur, or any questions about Mr. Logan's report?
Mr. Logan stole most of my thunder there and did an excellent introduction, but there were a couple things I wanted to point out that were changes.
Go ahead, sir.
Originally, I think in November, when I last came to the BOZA hearing, we had a 30-foot pole sign shown for our site sign. And in respect to your comments, we've reduced that down to the 10-foot monument sign. And the reason it's like 12 feet and change there is the code stipulates that it's 10 feet high from where it can be observed from the roadway. So because of the grades there's a couple feet that obscure the bottom of the sign, and that's where we got the 10-foot dimension that's shown on that sign there. It's the same products that were shown last time, and we had just a white panel at that time with the Popeyes future signage. And at the time that you last saw this as well, since we didn't have all the art and graphics from Popeyes, we showed that as a blank white panel on the high-rise sign as well. We have 3 businesses represented on our site that operate, somewhat independently. The Popeyes is a franchise. We operate the Thorntons separately, and Catskill operates their scale separately. So considering this, if this was subdivided into 3 separate properties, we would have the allowed square footage for signage amongst the 3 if we divided it out there. So I'm asking for variances for the maximum square footage allowed. Understanding that we're allowed the 1 sign for the building. For the total building square footage, we're at 103.08 square feet, which exceeds the code by 3.08 square feet. So we've divided that square footage across the building as appropriate for our primary entry for both our store and the Popeyes franchise. They elected not to have a rear entry, but we do for the professional drivers to enter. So that's why we have a separate set of channel letters over the rear, so that different customer that's coming from the other fuel canopy can be oriented as to where to enter the store. Last time you saw the sign package, we had 2 directional signs per driveway for a total of 8. We had that reduced to 1 per driveway. If you've ever been on the wrong side of a truck stop before, it's kind of intimidating when you're driving around the diesel fueling area and you can't get out. So we want to avoid that situation with any auto customers and clearly indicate with illuminated directionals that the entrance and exit and the auto entry and exits there. The auto canopy is a separate structure, and we have a total of 140 square feet for all the canopy channel letters that are shown. The one that's on the diesel canopy is visible to the interstate only. It's just to catch the eye of the professional drivers that are coming by our site. As Mr. Logan mentioned, we're compliant on the overall height of the high-rise, but we're requesting a variance for the total 789 square foot because of the additional Popeye signage, which is 225 square feet, and then the Catskill cabinet on that, plus the Thorntons and the pricing on it. The size of that sign is determined by the visibility on the highway based on your car speed being around 70 miles an hour. And we've sized the letters and numbers to give the motorist 30 seconds to move from the left-hand passing lane to the right-hand turn lane, and then to be able to exit safely off of the highway as they approach our site. So that's the reason for the size there, just for the safety of the motorist that sees our site and can make a decision in a timely manner. I believe that is everything that has changed since you last saw this. I'm happy to entertain any questions you might have.
Thank you. Any question from the boards?
I've got a question. So
Yes, sir.
some was already approved. So what is different that wasn't approved last time that you're asking for?
It's just the specific Popeye signage wasn't shown last time, sir. We had a brick building on all 4 sides that was expanded to enclose that Popeye space. And when I was here last before my cohort came for the Popeyes finishes, we had the whole building approved for the finishes that we had on the Thornton store. So since that time, we've gotten the art files from Popeyes. So we show their channel letters, the orange channel letters on the front, the circular 3-foot icon on the side of the drive-through, and then the graphics insert that was on the monument sign that we've added, taking that from a 30-foot pole sign to a 10-foot monument sign there. And then the high-rise sign had a white cabinet just to hold out the space for future use for the tenant. And now that we have the graphics on it, we've shown the actual rendering there.
To just, if you would, on page 2.
Yes, sir.
you've increased the height sign to 115, correct? The total height of the Popeye sign on top is now 115 feet high.
Yes, the top of the Popeye sign is 115 feet.
And in our manual, per our regulations, is 100 feet, is that not correct?
Is it what?
100 feet.
120.
120?
It's within.
120 for interstate on.
Okay. All right, so let me just give, it's a very in-depth package, working off from the Planning Commission. You know, I understand and concur the increase the height of page 3 with the increase in a few feet. I get that because of topo. My one issue I do have is on page 7, the Louisiana, you know, the chicken sign. If somebody's coming there, they already know Popeyes is there. That's at the drive-through. Is that not correct? The sign above is that a drive-through window?
Yes, sir. It's just above the drive-through window there.
So
It faces the interstate.
I understand. If you got a 115 feet sign with Popeyes on the top and you're pulling off already and the indicating signs coming around to the drive-through, I personally don't see a reason for that sign above the drive-through window. I understand and concur with the 115 feet, and I understand and concur with the sign height on page 3, the increase there, and the other signs as pushed through or indicated, I think fit the requirement and the size of the property itself. I just have the issue with the drive up, having the Popeye sign above the drive up. You're already there, you're already there. You know what you're going for. You have any comments on that, sir?
If you thought fit to eliminate that, I wouldn't have a major objection to that, sir. It's really just decorative in nature. It's just kind of to break up the aesthetics of that wall.
Any other comments or questions from the board? Well, I'll move ahead. I'll make a motion to accept this sign variance except for the Popeyes above the drive-through window, which is on, let's get the right page so we know it's going, page 7. Do I have a second?
Second.
You have a second. Those in favour say aye. Please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries, sir.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very
I
much.
appreciate your consideration.
Okay, moving on. Number 7, request for special exception to allow a daycare, property located at 561 Old Nashville Highway, tax map 18P, Group D, parcel 17, R1, low density residential, property owned by Church of Christ, Graceway. Mr. Logan, please, here's your report.
This is a request for special exception to operate a daycare at 561 Old Nashville Highway. This is the corner of Murray Lane and Old Nashville Highway. And the property is zoned R1, which is low-density residential. The applicant has submitted several documents, and we'll get into those. Here's the photos of the current building. So it has been operating as a church, and that's what most people know this location as. This is the front of the building that faces Old Nashville Highway, and this is the side, and this includes the ramp. So there's a side door there that people can use to enter next to the building, and then the front doors, of course. So it appears there's 2 doors to the building. The rear of the building is shown in this photo. There's no door in the back, just the 3 windows, and it looks like a security light there. This is the sign that's been posted now about 3.5 weeks for the Board of Zoning Appeals, and staff has not received any calls on this sign. Here's another photo, and you can see this structure as well as the next door structure there. There's a large concrete pad for parking in the rear of this building, and concrete pad is existing, of course, and quite a large expanse of grass. This is a pretty good sized site. It's a couple acres. So at any rate, the current use has been for church, and the property is zoned R1, and this is a request to operate a daycare at this location. The applicant has submitted plans you can see here. This is a floor plan that shows potential classroom space and shows how that space could be laid out if it was approved. This is Murray Lane here, and Old Nashville Highway. At the bottom of the screen is Old Nashville Highway. So again, it's the corner of Murray and Old Nashville Highway. And then this is the driveway going up the side of the building, the concrete driveway, and then that concrete ramp with the railing that's existing is shown here. And then large area parking in the back. They do indicate, or in your packet was submitted, and this is on the screen. These are a lot of the proposed changes that the applicant would make, and this is after you can see, after their meeting with some representatives of the Laverne Fire Department. So a lot of this is interior work. At the bottom is, you see the asterisk here for exit driveway onto Murray Lane. Staff doesn't know any specifics about that. No details have been submitted. I can assume the asterisk is because it's a future project and it's not set in stone. So staff would advise to ask about the plans for any additional driveway to Murray. I do want to read here in the report. So this is per the Laverne zoning ordinance definitions in Article 2. And this says that a home daycare is defined as any place, home, or institution that receives between 5 and 12 young children for less than 24 hours a day, conducted for cultivating the normal aptitude for exercise, play, observation, initiation, and construction. If you have fewer than 5 children, it's just considered an accessory use. But if it's between 5 and 12, it's considered, meets this definition in Article 2. So what is not clear at this point is the size and scope of this operation and how many children would attend and that sort of thing, because that number is going to dictate the future for this project, and will determine what they need to do in the future and whether or not they're going to need to go to the planning commission and those sorts of things. So that's a number that's not been discussed, and it needs to be discussed. And at this point, the request tonight for a special exception is the path of least resistance for this operation. And so, being that it's zoned R1, that seems to be a possibility. So just keep that in mind. And as I said, the sign's been there, and staff's not received any questions about that sign, but I'll be happy to answer questions. Thank you.
Do we have a representative here this evening representing this? Yes. If you would step to the podium, if you would. And you need to raise your right hand and swear you both in if you're going to speak. Raise your right hand. Do you promise to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
Please state your name and address for the record, both of you, please.
Hope Oliver, 507 Mabel Mason Cove, Laverne, Tennessee.
Caitlin Oliver, 507 Mabel Mason Cove, Laverne, Tennessee.
Thank you very much. So the first question that Ms. Logan asked is how many children, what size capacity do you intend to have this building for?
Currently, I actually have 23 children in my current location in Smyrna, Tennessee.
Okay. So you intend to bring...
And then the approved amount of students would depend on DHS, which they look at 30 square feet per child in the space. So when I did my math, that looks like it could possibly be a maximum of maybe 40 or 42 children.
So with that, can I get some input from the Fire Marshal and the code, just so we can get some direction here with this, if we could? Looking at a capacity of 42 children.
Yes, sir. So your exact question would be, I apologize.
So the capacity of 42, they're coming in for a special exemption under R1.
Yes, sir.
So that is, residential. So it's not basically it's in a residential district and not a commercial district.
Yes, sir. So as far as the fire code is concerned, if you have 5 or more children that are receiving daycare with educational capacities that are 2.5 years or older, then as far as the commercial and fire code would be concerned, it then becomes an educational facility, which would be very similar to the same aspect as a school. The amount of children and or occupants total would be solely dependent upon the square footage of the building and how the building itself is laid out. So for example, if they're solely going to do daycare and educational business inside that building, then it will be based upon the occupancy rating in the fire code for that particular use. So again, it would depend upon the total square footage. And then that would also be determined about how many exits they have, points of egress. So if they have, 3, then that may allow for additional, or it may restrict the amount of people. Just because the square footage, we'll say, hypothetically would allow for 100 people, the exits itself may not allow for 100 people. So it would be restricted down.
Okay, thank you. Randolph, do you have any comments or questions on his answer? So what, tell me he's doing a good job, yeah?
Yes, I like him being here.
Good deal. All right. So with that being said, obviously the daycare's in R1 special exception. So obviously, as you've heard, and the applicant understands that if this does pass, they would have to follow the rules and regulations of what the codes and fire marshal have to do.
Right.
So everything that we do will be subject to that. So do we have any questions or comments for the applicant? No questions or comments? Well then, do I have a motion for or against the special exception request for the daycare at 5610 Nashville Highway? Motion for or against? All being quiet, I want to make a motion to accept the special exception as submitted on the provision that they follow the guidance of the codes and fire marshal. Do I hear a second?
Second.
You have a second? I'll take a roll call.
Yes.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, the last item on the agenda this evening is number 8, a request for a sign variance, property located at 500 Walden Road, tax map 17O, Group A, parcel 2 and 1.01, C2 Highway Services, zoning district, property owned by Racetrack Petroleum, Inc. Mr. Logan, when you get a chance, if you give the report, please, that would be appreciated. Thank you.
Call your phone in the morning, and we'll talk about it all. Okay, the last item is a sign request for 500 Walden Road, which is also known as Racetrack to most of us. Similar to the Thornton's request, this signage request has been to Boza. I think this is the 3rd time. I've lost count. Many times Racetrack has been in front of Boza for their signs. So tonight, they've made some changes. First of all, we'll get the pleasantries out of the way. This is the side. It's Howe Quaker and Walden Road. You can see here in the red, it's zone C2. The dark navy blue is industrial, so this is C2 in the red. And let me go back. So this is the zoomed in version. This is a strip retail center that you'll still see today at Howe Quaker and Waldron. They've been talking about demolishing these buildings. I think we've been talking about it for a year and a half, but anyway. So this other building here is a industrial type building. So both of these would be demolished under this plan for a new racetrack. Let me go now to some photos. So this is the existing strip center. In the front, you can see, let me get to my zoomed in. So this is the State Farm office. There's a convenience center, convenience retail there. Fastenal is in this building. And just various tenants. But anyway, they would vacate, of course, with the demolition. kind of see the distant view there of the strip center. And then this is the second building there, which has been used over the years for more of an industrial type building, but it'll be demolished as well. So getting on to the sign package. So here's their site plan that they've submitted with their whole package, and we're especially looking at this N6 and A3, and that encompasses a lot of the changes that they're making with this request. So I went ahead and put the elevations back in, which have been in, you've seen them several times by now, but this shows you the A3 here. So this is the rear elevation, and I know last year they had asked for, don't know if it was the same racetrack sign, but you can see there's two signs here, and I believe they're both for pizza that will be sold at this retail establishment. And those were approved, so that's what these little bitty signs are, is the pizza signs. And now they're here for the racetrack sign, which might have been the same ask that they had last year, but they can speak to that. These are the other elevations, the front and the rear again. And then page 5 is some details of the racetrack signage, the wall signs of the racetrack. And then, of course, they've submitted the complete package since it is a sign package. So here's their, they're calling it their 300 square foot LED sign. And it's actually their interstate on sign. But the height of this is proposed to be 125. And so as we looked at earlier tonight with Thornton's, 120 feet is what the current code allows. So they are asking to exceed the height by 5 feet, which would be part of the variance. And this shows the overall layout for the entire site. So you've got diesel can gas up, heavy trucks and diesel can gas up in the rear side, and then the auto store with the vehicular canopies and gas canopies are in the front next to Walden Road. So these are the auto entry and truck entry signs, all part of their directional package. And then page 5 is more truck entry. So this is D1 and D2 on their signage site plan. And then next page 6 is D3, more auto and truck directional signage. And that is the end of their package. So mainly it's the rear racetrack sign, the wall sign on the rear, and their interstate on sign would be 5 feet taller than what the code currently allows. And be happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Do we have an applicant here this evening representing this? If you would step to the podium and raise your right hand if you would. Do you promise to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth to help you God?
I do.
Please state your name and address for the record.
Victor Sudapaha, Racetrack Petroleum, 200 Galleria Parkway, Atlanta, Georgia.
Thank you, sir. Another in-depth package for the board here to look at. I just want to give you my thoughts on it. Consistency is what we try to strive to here in the city. I do have a concern of the 125 feet. I do think as everyone starts creeping towards wanting taller and bigger signs, it just goes on and on and on. So my concept would be to hold them to the 120 feet, understanding they want it there to people to view it, but I would like to keep them to the 120 feet per our guidelines. And then my other comment it would be is the size of the actual unleaded and diesel signs compared to the Thorntons that we did this evening too, just to compare the two. As far as the directional signs, it is a large area like the Thorntons is. So as far as the signage for in and out, I've been through it and concur with it.
Okay.
But I do have an issue with the 125 feet. I prefer to be 120. And as far as the sign for the regular and diesel, I'm just going to do some calculations to make sure they're going to be comparable the same. Do we have any other questions or comments from the board?
And just for clarification, the reason why we're asking for 125 is because our site is a lot lower than the sites that's near the interstate, and we're sitting about 20 feet lower. So we're not asking for anything that's higher. It's just more in the same as the sites that's near the interstate, since we're sitting a lot lower. But we could, as long as we can have the other two, we can live with 120.
Okay, so let's just, dissect a little
I think
bit.
there's a sheet that shows the elevation of the sites. That's, I don't know, Bo, do you have the sheet that shows like, do you have the sheet that shows the topo that's near the interstate? It's part of the application.
I didn't put the topo sheet in there.
Oh, no, there's one where it's circled, the topo.
Generally don't.
The areas that's near the interstate and then our site. I don't know, that should have been in the, as part of the application package.
Okay.
But, you know, we could live with 120. If we're allowed the other two things, we could live with 120.
So just for the rest of the board, just do some calculations. On the Thorns one we did, the width of the unleaded, you know, is shown about 15 feet. Racetrack's 14, so comparable. So again, I'm looking for comparisons and being consistent. So I think my comment would be is we get them to the 120 and they're acceptable to that.
Yes,
The
sir.
rest of the package as presented, I think is acceptable. And so with that, I'll make that a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second. Those in favour say aye, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you,
Okay.
appreciate it.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you. And we're ready to start construction in a couple months.
Good to know. Thank you very much, sir. Okay, well, I think, ladies and gentlemen, with that, item number 8 completed, we wrapped up this meeting, and I appreciate your patience this evening. Thank you very much, and call this meeting adjourned. Thank you.